Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be doing another freezer dish today. I had a request for creamy chicken and vegetables. This is a nice simple dish. One thing I should say though is that cream sauces do not freeze well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the main dish and freeze it, and then when I cook it tomorrow after it's fully frozen, I'll make the cream sauce right at the end. So what you're going to need: so to get the chicken ready for the pot, give it a quick rinse under cold water. Take the strings off, if yours come with strings like this. Rinse the inside of the chicken under cold water. And feel around in the cavity in case there's any giblets or kidneys. So that looks pretty clean. Next thing you're going to do is pull as much of the skin and fat off as you can. The fastest way and easiest to cook a chicken, if you're going to be making a dish like this, is to boil it. But instead of having to strain the stock for the fat and so on, I usually just use the smallest amount of water and just discard it instead of using it for chicken stock. Yeah, so just run your hands underneath it, underneath the skin. At some point it will tear. That I'm just going to cut off with a knife after. So just find a spot. Make sure you don't cut yourself with this. So I've got a very sharp knife here. Now, don't bother to try to get the skin right off the edge of the legs. It won't come off and it'll waste your time. Just kind of cut around it like that. And don't even bother to try to get the skin off the wings either, it won't come off. That's about all of it. That's going to come off. There's still a bit stuck to the back and the wings. I'm not concerned. If there's any large clumps here, especially at the end here, you can just cut that off. Rinse the chicken well, again, under cold water, both in and out. So there's your completely de-skinned chicken, as much as possible. And of course the fat I'm just going to throw out. The days of using fat for seasoning are long gone. Okay, once you've got your chicken rinsed and in a pot with water just to cover, put the heat on to medium-high and cover it and let it boil. You can get the mushrooms and onion ready while the chicken is coming to a boil, because when it does, you do have to crack the lid so it doesn't boil over. The stems I'll chop up fine, but the caps I just want to slice normally so it makes a nicer presentation in the dish. Now for the onion, I want to chop it differently today. So just down the middle like that, and on each side, so it gives fairly large flat pieces when you stir fry it in the pan. I turn the lights off because it's making it look a little funny here, I think. Okay, now this is coming to a full boil. Either take it off the heat to let it settle down a bit. There you go. Now what you might want to do is keep that dirty bowl you had handy and just get a strainer and skim the scum off the top. Now I've got the heat on medium here, so it doesn't look like it's going to boil over. You just want like a pulse coming up once in a while on that. I can half cover it and just let it go for a bit. Probably about 15-20 minutes now. But don't fully cover it or else it probably will boil over you. Yeah. So it's been about 20 minutes, half an hour, simmering on medium. I'll just stick a knife in it a couple of places. Yeah, that feels really done. So get a clean bowl, not the one I've been using here, and get a meat fork. And fish that out and let it cool down on the counter for a while until it's cool enough that you can touch. Hopefully it wouldn't take more than 20 minutes, half an hour or so. So the chicken is cooled off enough to take apart. I take the vegetables and start sauteing them and use this bowl for the chicken. So put a pan over medium heat, add a little bit of oil to it, throw the vegetables in. A little bit of salt. So, yeah, this bowl had vegetables in it, so it's okay to put cooked meat in. Okay? So you can either do it on the cutting board, which also just had vegetables on, or just do it right in here. And what you want to do is just start taking the chicken and pulling it apart. Now you'll notice it is just slightly underdone, which is fine because you're going to stir fry it in the pan a little bit with the vegetables before putting the dinner together to freeze. I'm going to pick off as much as I can, but I'm not going to worry about it too much because like the last frozen dinner, I did the food cost on this one as well. And without the containers, it came to $3.30 a dish, assuming this makes 5 again. And with the containers, it's around $4. So it is more expensive than the last one, but it's still, I mean, $4. It's not a lot. Now you'll see that because I did take the skin off at first, how fast and easy this is. Any tendons or cartilage you just want to discard, leave them in the bottom of the bowl. How much chicken you get depends on how much patience you've got, because if you've never done this before, you will be astonished at how much chicken is actually on one of these birds when you get down into the back. Now the skin that I didn't take off before has meat underneath it, so I will take that off. You see, just get your thumbs in under there. That's how much chicken I got off of there, which is more than enough for the dishes. So the vegetables are sauteing nicely, and I'll turn that down a little bit so I can put on the noodles and the frozen vegetables. So in a saucepan, I cut open the bag of peas and carrots, and I'm just going to measure about half. Now I had a half a lemon left over, so I'm going to put that in because that keeps them nice and tart and keeps a good color on it. So just put a bit of water in, just enough to cover it. Put a lid on it. And bring it to a boil and just cook it for a bit till they're just undercooked. I had turned the heat off the vegetables temporarily while I was looking after the corn and peas, so it didn't overcook. So now what you do is just add the chicken and just cook that up a bit with the mushrooms and the onions. And you can just use the spatula to break up the big pieces. Yeah, chicken's looking nice. Big pieces have been broken down. It's starting to shred a bit, and it's fully cooked all the way through. It passes the push test with a spatula. So you can turn the heat off and take over that burner for the noodles now. Got my big soup pot for this one for the noodles. I'm going to put this on high covered till it boils. One of the reasons I like using this for noodles is that there's no chance it can overboil. Okay, so these have been at full boil for about 5 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat off. Yeah, those still here, I'll zoom in a bit just so you can see. Those still have a really nice color. So I'll just drain those and add it to the chicken mixture. So the pot's come to a boiler. Now every package has its own directions, just check the back. The one I've got says boil for 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes because I want them a little undercooked. Some people salt the water. I usually don't. You can. And just dump them in and set your timer. So 5 minutes, and you'll see why I use this big pot because it is frothing up quite a bit. Notice I have water running in the sink. It's cold water because when you're pouring boiling water through a colander, you always want to make sure there's cold water going so the temperature change is not so severe that you crack your pipes. Let's give that a little spray. And another reason to use cold water is to stop the cooking process. Well, I got all the noodles distributed in the pan there, and well, there's a surprise, eh? When you make your own frozen dinners, there's more chicken than noodles for a change. So now's the time to just start divvying this up. Now, if you want, you can break up the chicken into smaller pieces, but I personally like getting a nice big piece of chicken or two in my frozen dinners. So they're all weighed out now, and they all came in around 400 grams, a little over, which is around 14 ounces. So I'm going to label these and freeze them now and do the cream sauce tomorrow night. It's the evening of the next day. These are frozen solid overnight. I've got the oven on to 350. Let's just take a look at one here. Oh yeah, yeah, that's frozen. So what I'm going to do is put this in and do like I did with the last set and check on it after 20 minutes, probably give it a stir. Now, as I did say in the prior frozen video, if you're going to be eating these after work, do take it out of the freezer and put it in the fridge on the morning that you're going to be using it. This is after 20 minutes. Yeah. It's starting to defrost nearly all the way through, but it's not completely cooked. So I'm saying probably another 15-20 minutes. So this is another 15 minutes. It's nearly cooked, so I'm going to start making a cream sauce now for it. If you don't want a cream sauce or don't want to go to that trouble, you can just put some sour cream on it or just eat it as is. And if your timing is a little out, it's no problem to either turn the heat down in the oven while you're getting the sauce ready if it's already cooked. So I got a medium pan heating up over medium heat. I've got a cup of milk ready to go. Now for this, since I'm only making a cup of sauce, I'll get about a couple of teaspoons of butter. Get that melting. Get visually an equivalent amount of flour. Let that simmer away for a minute or so. So when that's getting all full of little bubbles and it smells toasty but not brown, then add a little bit of the milk. That will thicken up right away. Add a bit more. Then add all the rest of it at once. Turn the heat down a bit if you need to. And just stir briskly with the whisk to get any lumps out. When the sauce starts to bubble, stir it really well and turn it right down. Yeah, just turn it right off. As you can see from the steam and the look of it, that's fully cooked now. So the total time, including making the sauce, is around 45 minutes. Plate the dish. And get your cream sauce. And there you have it. Creamy chicken and vegetables. From freezer to plate in 45 minutes. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.